All right, this is Aaron Filbrin from the Master's Seminary. I'm the Director of Student Services there at TMUS. And I'm here today with one of our seniors, Matt Nerdahl. And Matt is going to be graduating this spring of 2020. And just excited about the opportunity to quickly hear from Matt his testimony, the testimony of God's faithfulness to him in his time here at TMS. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you, Matt, and excited to hear your testimony.
Thank you, Aaron. If I could summarize my 4 years of seminary in one word, it would be weakness. When I was in college, my seminary friends at the time had told me their professors told them that if you can get to the end of your time in seminary and you can't say that it was only by God's grace that you made it to the end, you did seminary wrong. And my 4 years in seminary are a testimony to God's kindness and faithfulness to reveal and create weakness in me so that I can be a useful vessel for his glory. There is nobody who is more unlikely to be sitting here today than myself. I barely graduated high school. I spent all of my time in sports and at parties until finally at 19, I found a Bible in a box in my room, and I opened it randomly. Turned randomly to Isaiah 6, where I was confronted with God's holiness, and I knew immediately in that moment, I am not a Christian and I'm going to hell. And that began a period of 4 weeks of crying out to God every day that he would save me. I would wake up and my first thought was, I'm going to die and go to hell today. Lord, please save me. But I didn't know any believers. So I just kept calling out to God. And finally, at the end of 4 weeks, I was driving home from work and I caught the last 5 minutes of a radio sermon that dealt with everything in my life specifically. And it was in that moment that I understood the gospel and believed the gospel and was born again. And my life changed radically overnight. But as I said, I didn't know any believers. I was working full-time as a mechanic and I was going to school to be a mechanic. So my only discipleship was my own Bible, radio sermons, and Christian rap. But I kept praying that God would give me the opportunity to learn how to study the Bible. In my mind, I just was praying that the Lord would show me the right books to read and how to read them. But I had the thought that if I could get laid off that winter, then I could get unemployment to study the Bible for a few weeks. And I prayed, and lo and behold, I got laid off from my job as a mechanic. And with joy, I went home and I set myself an 8-hour-a-day study schedule, thinking I had 2 to 3 weeks at most to learn the entire Bible before going back to my job as a mechanic. The Lord had different plans, however, and that unemployment period stretched on. And during that time, I found out about the Master's College. I prayed to be able to go there. And as a miracle, the Lord provided just enough money between my savings and my dad's savings for me to go to the Master's College for 1 semester. And I was, again, just expecting maybe 1 semester, so I tried to get everything out of it that I could. But month by month and tuition payment by tuition payment, the Lord provided for me to study at Master's for an entire 4 years, where I studied Greek and Hebrew and other Bible topics. My desire from the moment I was saved was just to read his word, be in prayer, and to preach and do ministry. And the Lord was beginning to answer those prayers slowly but surely. But he kept me in a place during that time that made it clear and obvious that it was him working in my life. It was him providing, and it was him guiding and directing me. The 3 years after college were very difficult. It was 3 years of pretty much constant closed doors, but still my only desire was to study the word and preach the word. So I kept on in prayer and kept on striving towards that. The only job I could find during that time was actually working with a nonverbal man with severe special needs named Nathan. And we would just spend all day together, not talking, but hanging out, having fun. And I would start to show him Bible videos. And I saw the way he grew and the way that the Lord can actually truly bear fruit through people like that. And the Lord was showing me during that time his heart for the weak and his heart for the least of these. And so I'm thankful for that time, although it was difficult, because it showed me what God values. And I'm confident that whatever else my life brings, that will be the most eternally rewarding period of my life. But he taught me his heart for the weak, and he taught me to be weak, and he kept me in a place of waiting. After those 3 years, the Lord finally did provide for me to come to seminary. And I'm thankful for the years of waiting, because it made it clear when he brought me to seminary that it was him bringing me. And though I already had several years of extensive study before that with Greek and Hebrew and the Bible, I can say that these 4 years of seminary have been the most stretching years of my life. And I'm so thankful to the Lord for over and over bringing me the particular trials that I've needed to bring me again and again to the utter end of myself and my own strength. I'm thankful that I can stand at the end of seminary and say, it is only by God's grace and mercy that I've made it to the end. As for the future, I'm not exactly sure what that's going to hold. For the time being, it looks like more studies, and it looks like staying in my present roles at the seminary. I'd like to briefly just say thanks to my parents for their love and support over the last 10 years from going to college until now. I'd like to thank Dennis and Deborah Ford for their extreme generosity in hosting me the last 4 years. I'd like to thank Rick McLean for his friendship and giving me a place to serve. And I'd like to thank Joe Keller for his constant exhortation, encouragement, and example. Finally, I'd like to thank my Lord Jesus Christ for making me weak so that he can show his strength through me. Men, the Apostle Paul wrote, I will boast all the more gladly in my weakness, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. And my closing encouragement to you as I finish my time here is, don't be afraid of your weakness, and don't be afraid of the weak, because God's grace is always sufficient. And this is the heart of your God.
Well, Matt, that is a great encouragement to me, and I know it'll be a great encouragement to many others as they hear your testimony of God's strength, even in the midst of your weakness. And so thank you for that. We will continue to be praying for you as the Lord continues to guide you and lead you into future steps. And so thank you for sharing with us, and it's been a pleasure.